Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Ready to plunge into some more AI goodness. Today, we're looking at the world of open source AI, specifically a model that's been making some serious waves.
Oh, yeah.
DeepSeek R1.
I've been hearing that name around.
Yeah. You probably heard of the big players like OpenAI.
Right.
Well, get this, DeepSeek, a Chinese AI company, just dropped a bombshell. They released what they're calling the world's first open source reasoning model. And it's totally free to use, no strings attached.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Yeah, so we're going to break down what this DeepSeek R1 can actually do, how it stacks up against those giants like OpenAI.
Yeah.
And the best part, we're going to show you how to use it, even if you aren't a hardcore techie.
Sounds good. I'm ready to dive in.
All right, let's do it.
Oh,
What's really interesting about DeepSeek R1 is that it's not just some little side project. It's going head-to-head with OpenAI's models in areas that take some serious brain power, like math coding logic. You know, the stuff we used to think was only for us humans.
yeah, it's really pushing the boundaries of what we thought open source AI could do.
Exactly. And DeepSeek's released a few different versions of this R1 model, almost like choosing your weapon for the AI arena.
Okay, I like that analogy.
So first up, you've got DeepSeek R10. This is like the raw talent, trained purely with reinforcement learning.
So it can solve problems on its own.
Yeah, it can figure things out independently, but it can be a little bit like that friend who takes the long way around to explain something.
Ah, so it gets there, but maybe not in the most elegant way.
It's a good way to put it.
Okay, so what's the more streamlined version?
That's where DeepSeek R1 comes in. It's like they took R10 and gave it a crash course in elegance. By adding some initial data, they smoothed out the rough edges, made it more readable and easier to follow.
So like going from a rough draft to a polished final paper.
Exactly. And they didn't stop there. They also released these distilled models. Think of it like taking a powerful desktop computer and shrinking it down to the size of a smartphone. But it still keeps all the smarts.
So you get the same capabilities, but in a lighter package.
Exactly. You get impressive power, but it's way more accessible.
And do these smaller versions actually perform well?
That's the crazy part. They don't skimp on performance at all.
Wow.
One of them, DeepSeek R1 Distill Q and 32B, is actually outperforming OpenAI O1 Mini in a bunch of tests.
Wow, that's really impressive. It shows you the power of their approach.
Yeah, they really nailed it with these distilled models. So at this point, you're probably thinking, okay, this sounds great on paper, but can DeepSeek R1 handle real-world problems?
Right, that's the real test.
And the answer is a resounding yes.
Yeah.
DataCamp put it to the test with a medical case study where they fine-tuned one of the distilled models, DeepSeek R1 Distill Llama 8B, on a medical question and answer dataset. They wanted to see if it could reason through complex medical scenarios.
Okay, so they were really pushing it to see what it could do.
Exactly. And they gave the model a tough medical question about a patient with a specific condition. And get this, even before any specialized training, R1 actually managed to reason its way through the question and give a detailed answer with a clear chain of thought.
So it could already kind of think like a doctor.
In a way, yeah. It
Yeah.
was like watching it solve a puzzle, step by step.
That's amazing. But I imagine there were some hiccups along the way.
Well, the initial answer was a bit like a doctor explaining a diagnosis using all the complicated medical jargon.
So you get the gist, but it could be clearer.
Yeah, exactly. It was accurate, but not exactly user-friendly.
So what did they do?
Well, then they fine-tuned the model using that medical data set.
Yeah.
And it was like someone flipped a switch. When they asked the same question, the model delivered this concise, accurate response that was easy to understand, almost like a mini medical report.
So the fine-tuning really helped it refine its communication skills.
It did. It's like it learned to speak fluent doctor. But here's where things get really cool for anyone who wants to try DeepSeek R1 themselves. You don't need a supercomputer or even an internet connection, because a tool called Ollama lets you run R1 right on your own machine.
Wait, really? That's a game changer.
It is. Imagine having access to this powerful AI, but without relying on external servers or worrying about API limits. It's like having a personal AI assistant available 24/7 right there on your computer.
I can see why you're so excited about this. That opens up so many possibilities.
It does. Think about it. Running AI locally means your data stays on your machine. You have uninterrupted access, and you can even integrate R1 into your own apps or workflows. Plus, no more worrying about those pesky API fees. You're in control.
It really puts the power in the hands of the user.
Exactly. And it levels the playing field, making this cutting-edge tech accessible to individual developers, researchers, even students who might not have the resources for cloud-based AI.
That's fantastic. It's really democratizing AI.
It is. So how do you get started? First, you grab Ollama from their website. Installing it is as easy as any other software. Then you choose your weapon, which version of DeepSeek R1 you want to use.
Okay, so it's pretty straightforward.
It is. Ollama makes it super simple to download and manage the different models. And here's where Ollama does some serious heavy lifting in the background. It handles all the technical stuff like something called quantization, which basically makes the model run more efficiently without sacrificing its smarts.
So it's optimizing the code behind the scenes?
Yeah, you don't have to be a coding ninja to get this going.
Mhm.
You can chat with DeepSeek R1 directly in your terminal, use the Ollama API, or even write some Python code to integrate into your projects. It's incredibly flexible.
That's awesome. It sounds like there's a lot you can do with it.
There is. And if you're feeling adventurous, you can even try building your own AI-powered applications using DeepSeek R1. The possibilities are pretty mind-blowing.
I can imagine. Now I'm curious to hear about some real-world examples.
Well, DataCamp created a really cool example of what they call an ARGA app, which stands for Retrieval-Augmented Generation. Think of it like having an AI that can answer your questions based on specific documents.
Oh, that's interesting. So it can analyze a document and give you a reasoned answer.
Exactly. That's where DeepSeek R1's reasoning abilities really shine.
So how did they build this RAB app?
They used a few other tools along with DeepSeek R1, LangChain Chromab, and Gradio.
Okay, those names sound a little intimidating.
I know they might sound like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it's actually more accessible than you think.
So even someone who's not a coding expert could potentially build something like this.
Absolutely. It's all about using the right tools, and there are tons of resources available to help you get started.
That's what's so great about the open source community. There's always someone willing to help and share their knowledge.
And that brings us to the heart of what makes this whole open source AI movement so fascinating. It's not just about the technology. It's about this incredible wave of collaboration, innovation, and accessibility that's sweeping through the AI world.
It's really changing the landscape of AI development.
And the best part is, we're just getting started. There's so much more to explore and discover. So stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into the amazing world of DeepSeek's R1, where we'll delve even deeper into his capabilities and potential.
I can't wait. I'm ready for more.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with more AI awesomeness.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of open source AI.
We're diving right back into DeepSeek R1. You know, before we even started recording, I was playing around with DeepSeek R1 myself. And honestly, I was blown away by how easy it is to use.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm not a coder by any means. But with Ollama, I had R1 running on my laptop and asking it questions within minutes.
That's the beauty of it. It's so user-friendly.
It is. It's incredibly empowering to have that kind of power right at your fingertips. And speaking of empowering, let's get back to that medical case study we mentioned earlier. It's a perfect example of how open source AI like DeepSeek R1 can be used to tackle real-world problems.
Definitely. The medical field is ripe for AI disruption with all its data and complex decision-making.
Right. And in this study, the researchers at DataCamp wanted to see if DeepSeek R1 could handle medical question answering. So they took one of the distilled models, DeepSeek R1 Distill Llama 8B, and fine-tuned it using a data set of medical questions and answers.
So basically, they were training it to be a medical expert.
Exactly. And remember how we talked about the model's initial responses being a bit jumbled, even though it could reason through the medical question?
Right. It was like it had the knowledge, but hadn't quite mastered how to communicate it
Yeah,
clearly.
exactly. So the fine-tuning process was like giving it a crash course in communication. It helped the model learn how to structure its answers, so they were both accurate and easy for humans to understand.
Like teaching it to speak fluent doctor.
Exactly. And the results were amazing. After fine-tuning the model's answers went from rambling explanations to clear, concise responses, almost like reading a mini medical report.
So it went from being a mid-student to a seasoned professional.
It did. It really highlights the power of fine-tuning. It's like you're taking a general-purpose AI and shaping its expertise to a specific field.
Like training an athlete. You might have someone with natural talent, but they need specialized coaching to excel in a particular sport. Fine-tuning is like that coaching for AI.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And just imagine the potential here. Doctors could use this to quickly get answers to complex questions. Researchers could analyze huge amounts of medical data in a fraction of the time. And even patients could use it to better understand their own health.
It's really incredible to think about. The possibilities are huge, and it's not just limited to medicine. This approach could be applied to any field where clear reasoning is essential, about law, finance, engineering, even education.
Imagine a world where everyone has access to an AI-powered expert in their pocket. That's a powerful thought. And it's all thanks to this movement towards open source AI, which is making these tools available to everyone.
It's really democratizing access to technology that was once exclusive and expensive. It's empowering individuals, small businesses, researchers to innovate and compete on a level playing field with the big tech companies.
I love that. So now that we've seen what's possible, let's get practical. How can people actually start using DeepSeek R1 and Ollama? We've touched on it, but I think it's worth walking through the steps.
Absolutely. And as we mentioned earlier, one of the best things about Llama is its simplicity. You don't need to be a coding expert to get started with DeepSeek R1.
Right. First things first, you need to download and install Ollama. You can find it on their website, and the installation is super straightforward. Once you have Ollama set up, you can choose from a variety of DeepSeek R1 models depending on what you need and what your computer can handle.
And Ollama makes it really easy to manage all the technical stuff. It handles downloading, managing, and running these large language models. You don't have to worry about complex configurations or anything like that.
Yeah, it's like plug and play AI. You just pick your model and you're ready to go. And once you've downloaded your chosen model, you have a few ways to interact with it. You can use the Ollama command line interface, which lets you type in questions and get answers right in your terminal.
So that's a good way to start experimenting.
It is. And if you're comfortable with coding, Ollama also has a Python API that lets you integrate DeepSeek R1 into your own programs and applications.
That opens up even more possibilities.
It does. Now, if you want to create something more interactive, like that RAG app we talked about, that's where tools like LangChain Chromab and Gradio come into play.
Okay, remind me what those do again.
So LangChain provides a framework for building apps that use large language models, like DeepSeek R1 Chromab is like a specialized database designed for storing and searching information in a way that AI understands.
Ah, okay, so it's like an AI-powered library.
Exactly. And then Gradio lets you build user-friendly interfaces for your AI creations. So even people who aren't tech-savvy can use them.
So it's like building the dashboard for your AI.
Yeah. It makes it easy for anyone to interact with your AI. It's like assembling a team of specialized tools to build something truly impressive. And the best part is all these tools are open source and free to use, so you can build amazing AI-powered projects without spending a dime.
That's fantastic. Now, I know this might seem like a lot to take in, but the beauty of the open source community is that there are tons of resources out there to help.
There are. You'll find tutorials, documentation code examples online. It makes it so much easier to get started with DeepSeek R1 and Ollama.
And the community is so supportive. You can connect with other developers, ask questions, share your projects, and learn from each other.
It's a fantastic environment for anyone who wants to learn and grow in the field of AI. And that's what makes this whole open source AI movement so exciting. It's not just about the technology itself. It's about the community, the shared knowledge, the spirit of collaboration.
It's about breaking down barriers and making cutting-edge AI accessible to everyone regardless of their background or resources.
Exactly. And that brings us to the most exciting part. We're just at the beginning of this journey. As more people get involved in the open source community and contribute to the ecosystem, who knows what amazing innovations we'll see.
The possibilities are truly endless. It's an incredible time to be a part of the AI world.
It is. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into DeepSeek R1 and the world of open source AI. We've covered a lot of ground, but hopefully this has given you a taste of what's possible with this incredible technology.
We've seen how DeepSeek R1 is challenging the status quo with its impressive capabilities, and how Ollama is making it accessible to everyone.
We've explored how fine-tuning can transform a general AI into a specialized expert, and we've seen real-world examples of how DeepSeek R1 is being used to solve complex problems.
But most importantly, we've highlighted the power of the open source movement. This spirit of collaboration and knowledge sharing is what's driving the rapid progress in AI and making it accessible to a wider audience.
It's an exciting time to be involved in AI, and we encourage everyone to explore the world of open source AI experiment with tools like DeepSeek R1 and Ollama join the community. And who knows, you might just create the next groundbreaking AI application.
So what are you waiting for? Dive in and see what you can discover.
That's right. The future of AI is open, and it's waiting for you to shape it. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. We'll see you next time. And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into open source AI with DeepSeek R1. We've seen what it can do, how Ollama makes it so easy to use, and how it's really opening up AI for everyone. But now let's zoom out a bit and think about the bigger picture. What does this whole open source AI thing really mean for the future?
That's the big question, isn't it? This shift towards open source. It's really shaking up the AI world. For a long time, AI development was mostly controlled by these huge tech companies with tons of resources.
Right, the Googles and the Microsofts of the world.
Exactly. But now with projects like DeepSeek R1, we're seeing AI become much more democratic.
Hmm.
Smaller companies, research groups, even individual developers are getting involved. It's leveling the playing field and leading to a whole new wave of innovation.
It's like we've gone from a closed-off system to this open marketplace of ideas. Anyone with the skills and the passion can contribute to AI development. That's pretty exciting.
It is. It reminds me of the early days of the internet when everything was open and experimental. New ideas were popping up all over the place. We're seeing that same kind of energy and creativity in the open source AI community.
I see that too. And it's this collaborative spirit that's driving the progress we're seeing in open source AI. People are sharing code, data sets, ideas, building on each other's work. It's a global effort, and it's moving incredibly fast.
And that open approach also means more eyes on the code, more feedback, which leads to more robust and reliable AI systems in the long run.
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
In the past, AI development often happened behind closed doors. So it was hard to understand how those systems worked or if there were any biases built in. But with open source AI, everything's out in the open.
It's like having a transparent box. You can see how everything works, which leads to more accountability and trust.
And more trust is always a good thing, especially as AI becomes more and more a part of our everyday lives.
Mhm.
We need to be able to understand how these systems make decisions and make sure they're being used ethically.
Absolutely. Open source AI promotes that transparency because anyone can examine the code, find potential problems, and help make these systems better.
And it also allows for more customization and flexibility. With open source, you're not stuck with just the models and tools that one company gives you. You can adapt them to your specific needs. Change the code, experiment with different approaches.
It really empowers users to take control of the technology and make it their own.
And that's powerful. Think about it. A small startup with a unique problem might not have the money to build a custom AI solution from the ground up. But with open source, they can use existing models, tweak them to fit their specific data, and create something amazing without breaking the bank.
It's a game changer for businesses of all sizes, and it also opens up huge opportunities for education and skill development.
Right. With open source AI, anyone can dive into the code, see how these models work, and learn by doing. It's like a giant online classroom for AI development.
And we need that accessibility to train the next generation of AI experts.
Absolutely. We're already seeing tons of online communities, tutorials, courses, all about open source AI. It's getting easier and easier for people to learn the skills they need to join this exciting field.
And as more people get involved, the faster AI will advance. So as we wrap up our deep dive into open source AI with DeepSeek R1, I want to leave you with this. We are at the beginning of a major shift in technology, and open source is at the heart of it. It's democratizing access, driving innovation at an incredible pace. The possibilities are really limitless.
It's an exciting time to be a part of the AI world. If you've ever been curious about AI, now is the time to dive in, explore open source AI, play around with tools like DeepSeek R1 and Ollama, join the community, and who knows, you might just be the one to create the next big thing in AI.
The future of AI is open. It's waiting for you to shape it.
That's a great way to put it. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of AI.